That was my first general anaesthetic from that.
Oh really?
Yeah.
What, that's sitting in?
Yeah, so no, I was curling with 40 kilos. So if I caught fudgies at 88 pound, I could hold it out. I didn't even have to rest it on my knee at all. I could just hold it out like a 15 pounder. And I think I crushed the disc between my fourth and fifth vertebrae doing that. And after 3 months of physio and it not getting any better, I had to go and they went in through my neck. I've got a scar there.
I remember that.
My neck,
yeah,
and down, and scraped it all away, and that's now joined together between my fourth and fifth. So I'm sort of turning into Darth Vader slowly but surely. He's more machine than man. Yeah, so no, I train really light now, but I'm back training again now. I've done 2 sessions since they took the second tube out. You obviously seen the podcast, have you? Yeah, so the second tube came out last Thursday morning at about 9 o'clock in the morning. By 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I was at Norton, back up at Norton, like bailiffing, not fishing. I nearly fished. I got tempted because they're showing, and I thought, no, it'd be busy tomorrow. I was bivvied up behind the track. So Lance Barton, who works for us, was fishing on pettits. I was behind him, punishing him, and like the car, they come and pay, and come past and look in and like go, and then reverse up like that, and then just like look at me. I'm like, all right, lads, and they're like, all right, and they're like, I'm like, where are you off to? They just didn't say anything. Where are you off to? Turner's. I said, oh, good luck. I'll be round later. I'll do a bit of coaching and that later. Yeah, all right, and they just like drove off thinking, how has this happened? Because it was all so close together, but it looked far worse than it felt, you know.
Are you used to being recognised now, Dan, after all these years?
Just a bit, yeah. yeah, I am. I'm. It's a nice position to be in where you're well known in a very, very niche-y industry. I could not have it where every time I walked outside of here, there's people about and going, there's a bloke, Jay, lives around the corner. He's like proper geese. All right, Dad, how you doing, mate? It's nice to bump into him down there and hear what he's been catching and all that sort of thing. But every minute of every day, I don't know how they do it. I really don't know how they do it. But no, I think it's if they feel you're approachable enough to actually come and say hello, I think that's a compliment. And if you've influenced them in some way, made a difference to their fishing or whatever, even more so, you know.
Just evidence that what you've done has worked then, really. The fact you get recognised.
Because you don't get evidence day to day, you know. Like you get some nice comments on social, but it's far easier to be nice and nasty on social, isn't it? Because it's very faceless. It's like road rage, isn't it? You can have a go at him over there, but you ain't going to be fighting him, are you? You know. And it's the same thing. There's an element of detachment. And yeah, so but hearing it from someone face to face, when you can see they are physically moved by it, you know, and you're at a show and you put your arm around someone and you can feel their blood's going, that's a lovely thing to have had that effect on somebody. Most people go through life having never experienced that, so to experience it on a regular basis is a lovely thing.
Well, thank you very much, Dan, for inviting us round.
You're very welcome. You're going to thank me more later when I barbecue for you.
We definitely are. We might even film that.
I think you should. I can give you some tips. I'm getting good now.
You've always been a good cook.
I enjoy it when I've got the time. I used to, when coming home from work, I'd be so knackered. I just couldn't be bothered, and such a good cook anyway. Don't need to, but because I've been stuck indoors for 4 weeks, I've got the Tom Kerridge barbecue book, which is an absolute worldie. There's not 57 million ingredients on every single thing. And I love, you know me, Rich. You've been drunk and disorderly in my house enough times at Christmas parties and what have you. I like hosting. I like doing things for people. So because I've had the time, I've Practice. One thing they don't say in any cookbook that I've ever read, you need to practice to get good at it. You see all these lovely shallow depth of field shots of this amazing food, and then your one just looks like a dog's dinner. Do you know what I mean? And if you practice, the second one's better than the first one, and the third one's better still. And now it takes a lot for me to properly muck it up. You know.
Are you one of these guys now that you provide instructional information for everyone in fishing, that you like critique any kind of step-by-step?
100%. My missus calls it the Danny red button, the extra commentary that you get for free on every single programme. Look at that shot, what is going on with the brain on the lens and all that. She just starts to, or like Housewives of Cheshire or whatever. I'm like, for fuck's sake, look at her, they all look the same, look at them, they look dead. And she's like, can you just leave the room, please, you know? So, yeah, you know me, I've got an opinion on everything, and
One of Elliot and my sort of most memorable culinary experiences was when you decided to cater for us on the first shoot.
You're not allowed to say that word, Rich, are you?
But we'll bleep that.
Yeah.
On the first shoot.
Yeah.
And we didn't get catered for again because you ended up cooking at midnight, I think. We had lovely
yeah,
steaks.
But also you didn't even have, the first night I cooked fish and you didn't even have a plate, and you ate my lovely fish that I took over there and kept cold all day on a bucket lid with a fork. And I was like, I'm not going through this effort again for people that haven't even brought their own plate. So that's why. So
today we haven't brought any plates, but...
Well, I've got tons of plates, it's fine. You weren't expected to.
No, I think, first of all, Dan, on behalf of everyone in the carp fishing community, thank you so much for the podcast. I feel like we have to mention that.
Very welcome, mate. Very welcome. It's I've been absolutely blown away by the response. Far, far, far more than I could have ever imagined. The heartfelt responses from wives of blokes that sort of know me, who got my number through somebody at work, and as I just felt I had to write to you. You know, we've been through this. Or we've sat all our kids down and made them watch it. They all play football, they'd never put lotion on. Now they all put it on before they go out every single time. We don't even have to ask them. If it just did that one thing, like Damien's Wendy, you know, we all know Wendy, you know, force of nature. She had a battle with Francesca, her little girl, every summer about putting it on. Wendy wins, because Wendy don't lose battles, does she? You know, but now she sat down and watched it. She went, I don't want to end up like Dan. You know, and she puts it on. If it had just got that one thing, if Francesca had just taken it seriously, it would have been enough. But we have no idea how far it's reaching, and it will carry on doing that. So, no, you're very welcome. It was the right time to do it. I didn't want people talking about it and my life to be just about that, because it doesn't make any difference to you getting better or even getting through it. And it just felt like the right time to make people aware, you know, of the risks.
Has it, when you walked out of that studio, in fact, when you turned up for work, if you've presumably been to Korda Towers since,
yep,
were people's reactions to you different?
No, I have to say, Jill, who works in product development, who works in manufacturing, she said, can I high five you? Boom, just did that. And little Julie, do you know Julie, who works in production?
No.
No,
Don't think she was there when we were there, perhaps. No.
No? Steve Lindsell's missus?
No.
No, she's a force of nature, absolute firecracker, little tiny lady who runs the float production, and she is a proper live wire. She went, can I give you a hug? And I'm like, yeah. So I hugged her, and then I went, fucking hell, like that, and everyone pissed themselves laughing in the canteen, and she was like, oh my God, you know. So yeah, but no, that other than them little moments of just showing respect, I think, you know, it's been exactly the same. Everyone's been exactly the same, and that's exactly how I wanted it. So
yeah, you must have worried that all of a sudden people would be too afraid to even...
No, I didn't actually. I didn't give it a second thought, to be honest. I really didn't. I've got to a point now, emotionally, mentally, whatever you want to call it, that I don't give a flying one what people think of me, good or bad. And I lived my whole adult life, being obsessed with that, you know, which drove me to be really successful, but it wasn't a pleasurable experience a lot of the time, you know, and now I really, really don't care. So if they were all funny, I'd be able to stand up in front of them and go, you're all being fucking funny, like, sort it out, you know, and then they have no nerves about doing it whatsoever, you know.
Do you think, Dan, that there is a connection between successful and entrepreneurial people and adversity in their early life?
I haven't delved into it enough. I've read loads of books on special forces regiments, SAS, Pathfinders, Navy SEALs, all that sort of thing. They seem to have had it tough, either brought it upon themselves to toughen themselves up because they wanted to be in special forces, or their dad used to beat them up or whatever, and they've had it tough, and they're the people that get through selection, have got the mental toughness to get through selection, because it's a mental thing far more than it is a physical thing. So I would say it makes sense that there would be a connection. Certainly, you know, having grown up in probably quite a lonely, having like a lonely childhood with broken home and all that sort of thing, and not a poor one or a violent one or anything else, but a lonely one. As youngsters, we're all full of this life force, aren't we? You know, it's absolutely coming out. I see it in my little girl, you must see it in yours every day. They're overflowing with enthusiasm for life, aren't they? And I was able to suddenly channel that into fishing, first of all, which you do on your own. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, all my worries about what people thought of me and fitting in and everything else that every teenager has were irrelevant. And then Korda, you know, the opportunity to make money from it came along, and I could channel all my life energy into that. It didn't change the fact that I still suffered from low self-esteem, and I still felt I was fighting the world on my own. But it gave me an outlet, you know, and I think that happens for quite a few people, definitely. I think if you've been overly looked after all the time and you've not really had to deal with the realities of life, I don't think that helps you be ambitious or successful.
Looking back at the way things have unfolded for you, do you think that with the mindset you now have, Korda could have been, I mean, dare say it's huge now, but even bigger, or different?
A million times bigger. We'd be ruling the world now, mate. If you know, and now I am as fertile with ideas as I have ever been. You know, I get up in the middle of the night and write stuff down. I couldn't sleep last night, came down, started writing scenes out for an advert we're going to do for the new clothing coming out, like a proper funny one that 3 of my mates are going to be in. I'm just absolutely overflowing with ideas and expansion and everything. And yes, I think because always found it very difficult to deal with upset and conflict, you know, because it puts you back into that place that you are unloved, you're on your own. If you have to have a chat with someone and they leave the company, that was my biggest fear, sitting down with Damien and saying, I'm not really happy with this, and him going, fuck you then, I'm going. So you feel it, you want to say something, but you daren't, because you're going to be thrust back into that time of being a 14-year-old kid where you're completely and utterly on your own. And if I didn't have that back then, I would have been able to have the conversations in a really productive, respectful way, and everybody, which I'm doing now more than I've ever done, and everybody leaves the room feeling great, you know. Yeah, so yes, I wish I could have, you know, that's why we're going to put that learning, that the Thrive programme learning into schools. We're going to do it in Jill and Steve Lindsell's schools in Corringham, and we're going to approach them about paying for a group of, I would have said 5th year, I think it's year 9 now, isn't it? Is that right? I don't know. Year 9 and year 10 are your last 2 years. So when they start year 9, take them through the kids' version, the teenagers' version of the Thrive programme. What they basically do is they train a teacher to be a Thrive coach, so they've got a point of reference, so when they're struggling with something. Because if every kid left school with really brilliant self-esteem, no matter what their parents thought of them or did to them, or their teachers or their mates, but they still knew they were a decent human being and they knew that, you know, their qualities and everything else, would kids get into crime and gangs and selling gear on the corner if they had high self-esteem? They probably wouldn't. Would they get the job they really wanted? They probably would, you know. And if every kid could leave school with that, if I'd left school with that, who knows where it would be. And I'm not, it's probably worth 50 million at the moment. If someone offered me 50 billion, I wouldn't sell it.
Looking back at the way things have unfolded for you, do you think that with the mindset you now have, Korda could have been, I mean, dare say it's huge now, but even bigger,
a million times bigger.
But you must have considered whether you should retire at some stage.
Never.
Not even thought
I'll
about it.
drop dead, mate, thinking about a tweak on a product that makes it that tiny bit better, or pushing a barra, you know.
Stuff you're excited about at the minute, Dan?
Very excited. I can't tell you, obviously, but we're moving into new areas. People we've got working with us who are superstars at their thing, the best of the best. See, if Gaz Fairham, which he has on WhatsApp, says loving the mindset, bruv, I'm like, that's the best compliment I could possibly get. Yeah, I just wanted to see more of all of them, you know, because they're the guys that I want to go fishing with. They are.